Before man had kingdoms, before there were borders or names, there were dogs. And among the first there was one that did not bark, a shadow that moved through the jungles of Africa with grace and precision, its eyes bright, its body small but flawless, its heart bound to no master. This was the Basenji, the dog that time forgot. To understand the Basenji, you must travel backward, beyond memory, beyond civilization, to a world where humans were hunters and the forests spoke in whispers. In the heart of ancient Africa, near the Congo River basin, the Basenji lived not as a servant, but as an equal. Man and dog did not command each other. They cooperated. The Basenji hunted silently through dense jungle, moving with feline agility, reading the earth like scripture. It did not chase blindly. It calculated. It read scent and movement with the precision of a predator born of instinct, not instruction. It was small enough to weave through thick undergrowth, fast enough to outrun danger, and intelligent enough to work in perfect rhythm with humans. No leash, no order, no fear. The tribes called them by many names. The jumping dog, the silent one, the forest's gift. And when their hunts succeeded, the Basenji was honored, fed, and sung about beside the fire. This was not ownership. It was partnership. Thousands of years before humans began breeding dogs for appearance or status, the Basenji already existed. Pure, ancient, unchanged. Archaeologists have found images of it on the walls of Egyptian tombs. Sleek, curled-tailed figures carved beside pharaohs and queens, painted with collars of gold, their proud faces turned upward as if listening to secrets only they could hear. The Basenji was the same then as it is now. Small, athletic, graceful, its tail curled tight like a symbol of infinity. While empires rose and fell, it remained untouched by time. And in that timelessness lies its mystery. Unlike any other dog, the Basenji does not bark. Its voice is older, wilder. A yodel, a cry, a sound caught somewhere between song and wind. Scientists say its larynx is shaped differently, but those who have lived with Basenjis say it's something deeper, as if the breed never learned to imitate man. Because the Basenji is not a product of civilization, it is a survivor in spite of it. In a world where everything was being changed, bred, and molded to serve, the Basenji refused to change. It kept its spirit, its independence, its quiet dignity. And so, as the centuries passed, it became something rare. A living fossil of loyalty without obedience, of partnership without possession. While other breeds evolved through human hands, the Basenji stayed shaped by nature, the rain, the heat, the hunt. Its coat remained short and fine, like silk stretched over muscle, its eyes sharp and intelligent, its mind quick, curious, unyielding. It is said that even in ancient times, people admired it not just for its skill, but for its character. Because the Basenji does not beg. It does not plead for attention. It stands beside you, not beneath you. And when you earn its trust, you do not own a pet. You are accepted by an equal. In that way, the Basenji may be the purest reflection of what dogs once were. Not companions shaped for comfort, but allies shaped for survival. Every movement it makes still echoes that origin. The silent tread, the sudden spring, the pause to study before acting. To watch a Basenji is to watch time itself, the memory of what it meant to live close to the earth, to depend on instinct, to trust in silence. Because silence for the Basenji is not emptiness, it is awareness. When the wind moves through the grass, when the jungle stills before the hunt, when the human beside it breathes in anticipation, the Basenji listens, and in that listening lies its power. It does not bark because it does not need to. It understands before sound. It reacts before command. It belongs before belonging was a word. The world calls it the barkless dog, but that is too small a name for what it truly is. The Basenji is the echo of the first partnership between man and nature, unbroken, undiluted, and untouched by time. And in every heartbeat of this small, silent creature, you can still hear the rhythm of the wild. A reminder that not all loyalty needs a leash, and not all love needs words. In the heart of Africa, where sunlight filters through endless green and the air hums with life, the Basenji moves like a thought through shadow. No bark, no sound, only rhythm, the quiet cadence of pause on earth. This is the Congo, ancient, untamed, unforgiving. To survive here is to understand silence, and no creature understands it better than the Basenji. Among the tribes of the Congo Basin, the Azande, the Pygmies, the Mongo, the Basenji was not a pet. It was a partner in the hunt. Its task was delicate, precise, almost spiritual. When the hunters entered the jungle, they did not march with noise. They melted into the green. The Basenji led them, nose to the wind, eyes sharp, tail curled tight like a question mark waiting to be answered. It tracked the scent of prey, antelope, birds, small game, moving with a stealth that no other dog could match. Because in a jungle filled with danger, a single bark could mean death. So the Basenji hunted in silence. It would flush prey into nets, signal with a flick of its tail or a glance, and then vanish again into the foliage, a whisper among whispers. To the hunters, it was a gift from the forest itself, a creature that spoke its language and understood its laws. They fed it from the same pot, slept beside it under the same stars. When they succeeded in the hunt, the Basenji was celebrated. When they failed, it still stayed by their side, faithful but never needy. It was said that a good Basenji could read the mood of its master. If danger lurked nearby, it would freeze, not a growl, not a twitch, just stillness. The jungle listened to the Basenji, and the Basenji listened to the jungle. That is how it survived where few others could. Its body was built for endurance. Short, fine coat to keep away parasites, tight skin that never gathered dirt, muscles coiled like springs beneath perfect balance. Its eyes, alert, amber, intelligent, saw not just movement, but intention. Every sense worked together like music. Smell leading sight, sight leading silence. Even the curl of its tail served a purpose. A banner for humans to follow. Through the thick foliage, a symbol that the forest's ghost was still near. And when the day's hunt ended, the Basenji returned not as a servant expecting reward, but as an equal expecting recognition. It had done its part, not for praise but for partnership. At night, around the fires, hunters would tell stories of these small, silent dogs, how they faced down snakes, how they protected the children when the men were gone, how they could sense a leopard before it struck. To the tribes, they were sacred, creatures of instinct and understanding. To harm one was to anger the forest itself. In villages, they lived freely, never chained, never confined. They came and went as they pleased, returning only when the bond called them back. Because the Basenji is loyal, but never owned, it will love deeply, but only those who respect its spirit. And that independence, that quiet confidence, is what makes it so different from every other breed that followed. For while most dogs became reflections of man's control, the Basenji remained a reflection of nature's balance. Even today, it carries that same dignity. That calm awareness of its surroundings, that refusal to bark unless the world truly needs to listen. And though centuries have passed, it still holds the same gaze. That wild, intelligent look that says, "I remember who I am." Do you? Because the Basenji was never just a hunter of the jungle. It was, and still is, a messenger. A bridge between the world of humans and the wisdom of the wild. It walks through history as quietly as it walks through grass. Not demanding attention, but commanding it. The Congo gave it life, the hunt gave it purpose, and silence gave it soul. That is why even now, when a Basenji pauses and tilts its head, you can almost hear the echo of drums, the whisper of trees, and the ancient heartbeat of the forest it once ruled. Because the Basenji is not just from Africa, it is Africa. Silent, enduring, untamed. Silence can be power or punishment. For the Basenji, it is identity. In a world that measures dogs by their bark, the Basenji answers with something older. A ripple of sound caught between laughter and song, a call that dances through air like wind over reeds. Humans call it a yodel. To the Basenji, it is simply language. The voice of the Basenji is the voice of instinct. It doesn't bark because it doesn't need to. It communicates through movement, through gaze, through a vocabulary of subtlety that most have forgotten to hear. Watch closely, and you will see it. The flick of an ear meaning alert, the tilt of the head meaning curious, the stillness of its body meaning decision. Every gesture is deliberate, every silence full. This quiet nature is not a flaw of anatomy, but a triumph of adaptation. In the dense jungles of its origin, noise meant exposure. Prey fled. Predators found you. To survive, the Basenji learned to hunt with its body, not its voice. Even now, in homes and cities far from Africa, that ancient calm endures. It moves lightly, gracefully, its paws barely touching the ground, a ghost of evolution refusing to forget where it came from. Yet behind that silence lies a mind alive with thought. The Basenji is no submissive follower. It is a thinker, an analyst, a strategist. It does not obey simply because it is told. It considers, then decides. And when it decides to act with you, not for you, the partnership becomes something sacred. That independence both fascinates and frustrates those who meet it. It will not beg, but it will charm. It will not bark for your attention, but it will make you earn its gaze. And once it gives you that gaze, steady, intelligent, unblinking, you will understand what respect feels like from a creature that owes you nothing. The Basenji's silence is not emptiness. It is presence. It listens to the world more than it speaks to it. In that listening, it finds balance between instinct and intellect, wildness and trust. When danger comes, it does not panic. It stands still, analyzing, calculating, deciding the exact second to move. A flash of muscle, a whisper of motion, and it is gone, as if the forest itself reclaimed it. Scientists have studied its DNA and found it among the oldest of all domestic dogs. Its genome carries the memory of the first bond between man and beast, unbroken by centuries of breeding and control. In the Basenji, you can still see the original design, the prototype of partnership itself. But silence has another side, misunderstanding. People expect noise as proof of loyalty. They forget that devotion can be quiet. They mistake independence for distance, curiosity for defiance. The Basenji reminds us that love does not always speak. Sometimes it simply is. It shows affection through proximity, through trust, through the gentle weight of its head resting against your hand. Not out of need, but out of choice. It is a companion who stays because it wishes to, not because it must. And perhaps that is why the Basenji feels more like art than animal. Every motion composed, every expression refined. It does not seek to please, it seeks to understand. In a world filled with noise, the Basenji's quiet is revolutionary. It asks us to listen again to the rhythm of breath, the hum of life, the silence that connects everything alive. Because silence, in the end, is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of awareness. And in that awareness, the Basenji still thrives, eternal, elegant, untouched. For centuries, the Basenji remained a rumor, spoken of by traders, seen by explorers, never truly believed. Africa kept its secret well. When the world began to map itself in the 1800s, explorers entered the Congo and wrote of a small, graceful, barkless dog that hunted beside tribes like a ghost. They described its fine coat, curled tail, sharp mind, and its silence. To scientists in Europe, it sounded impossible. A dog that didn't bark? A breed untouched by civilization? Surely legend. But legends have a way of waiting for discovery. In 1895, a few Basenjis were brought to England. Elegant, mysterious, instantly admired. Yet the world was not ready. Disease claimed them all before the bloodline could take root. It would take decades and extraordinary perseverance before the Basenji would rise again. Then, in the 1930s, explorers returned to the Congo. Men like Henry Trevor and Mrs. Olive Byrne of England, who saw in the tribal camps a dog unlike any they had known. They watched them move through jungle shadows, hunting in absolute coordination, silent as thought. They saw intelligence that needed no command, grace that required no teaching. They saw the origin of dogs. Basenjis were brought back to England again, this time surviving, this time thriving. The world finally looked into those amber eyes and saw something ancient looking back. Within a few years, the first Basenjis reached America, greeted with astonishment and reverence. They were small, beautiful, impossible to categorize. Part cat, part gazelle, part memory of Eden. While the West admired its elegance, the Basenji remained unchanged inside. It still hated cold. It still washed itself like a feline. It still climbed, leapt, calculated, observed. You could dress it in ribbons and register it in clubs, but you could never civilize its soul. Even in show rings, it carried the wild within it, calm, alert, dignified. Judges noticed something uncanny. This dog looked at them, not with submission, but with comprehension. It was not asking for approval. It was remembering who it was. Through selective breeding, the Basenji's health and structure were preserved, but breeders quickly learned a truth the tribes had always known. You cannot make a Basenji obey. You can only make it understand. Train it with patience, and it will follow out of respect, never fear. Try to dominate it, and it will simply turn away, silent, unimpressed. Yet that spirit became its greatest gift. Because in a world of noise and ownership, the Basenji reminded people that partnership must be chosen, not demanded. Today, its descendants live across continents, New York apartments, English gardens, African villages, and yet they all share the same habits. The clean paws, the watchful eyes, the sudden bursts of play that feel like art in motion. Each Basenji carries the memory of the forest, the echo of drums, the pride of independence. Its rediscovery did more than add a breed to the books. It restored a chapter of our own history. It reminded humanity that dogs were not created by us. They walked toward us. And among the first to walk was this quiet traveler from the heart of Africa. Even now, when a Basenji stands in sunlight, head high, eyes fixed on something far beyond sight, you can sense that distance between the world we built and the one we left behind. It bridges both with ease, belonging to neither entirely, yet honoring both. That is the miracle of the Basenji. It adapts without surrender. It evolves without erasing its past. It remains wild enough to stay honest, gentle enough to stay close. And so, from the forgotten jungles of the Congo to the polished floors of modern homes, it carries one unbroken truth. Freedom, once born, never dies. There are dogs that obey, dogs that serve, dogs that exist to please. And then, there is the Basenji. It walks beside humanity, not behind it. It loves deeply, but on its own terms. It listens, not to command, but to understanding. That is what makes it eternal. The Basenji was born free, and though centuries have passed, that freedom still lives in every step it takes. You can see it in the way it moves, a rhythm too ancient to be taught, too natural to be trained. You can see it in the way it looks at the world, not as something to obey, but as something to explore. It doesn't bark because it doesn't need to announce itself. Its silence is its crown, its confidence, its language. To live with a Basenji is to learn the meaning of mutual respect. You don't own one, you earn one. It will test your patience, your humility, your ability to love without control. But when it finally curls beside you, when it finally rests its head on your lap, that moment is pure truth. Because the Basenji does nothing half-heartedly. If it loves you, it means you have been chosen. That is not obedience. That is honor. And that, more than its silence or grace, is what makes it extraordinary. Even now, in the quiet corners of the world, people still call it the dog of the gods. Not because it is divine, but because it reminds us of what divinity once meant. To live in harmony with creation, not in command of it. The Basenji is proof that partnership can exist without dominance, that loyalty can coexist with freedom, that silence can speak louder than sound. In its independence lies a message for every human who has ever demanded control. Love does not require submission. Trust does not require noise. It will never fetch endlessly just to entertain. It will never live for applause, but it will sit beside you in quiet solidarity, sharing warmth without demand, presence without pressure, devotion without debt. And when you look into those eyes, deep, golden, ancient, you realize that the Basenji has not adapted to our world. We have merely been invited into theirs. That is why, no matter where it lives, in the forests of Africa, the streets of London, or the apartments of New York, the Basenji remains the same. Its silence still hums with the echo of the jungle. Its grace still carries the memory of ancestors who hunted with men but never bowed to them. Its freedom still beats inside its chest like a drum that will never stop. Because the Basenji is not a breed. It is a philosophy. A reminder that life does not need to be loud to be meaningful, that love does not need to be spoken to be real. And so, when the world quiets and the sun sets, and the Basenji lifts its head to release that haunting yodel. That sound that is neither bark nor howl, but something older, something sacred. You can feel time itself pause. It is not a cry of loneliness. It is a song of remembrance, a hymn from the world's first dog telling us that freedom, once given, must never be taken. And when it fades, what remains is silence. The same silence that has followed it for tens of thousands of years. Not emptiness, not absence, just peace. Because the Basenji is not meant to fill the world with sound. It is meant to remind us how beautiful the world already is when we finally listen. The hunter without bark, the guardian without chain, the friend without fear, the silent soul of the wild, forever untamed.